Welcome to the latest edition of the Shukri Wrights Podcast with your host, Shukri Wrights. Wherever you may be, however you may be listening to the podcast, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, or watching the episode via YouTube, thank you. Thank you. And thank you again for making this podcast part of your Monday or whenever you're listening to the podcast for the first time. I appreciate it as always. Subscribe and download so that you're notified when the new episode of the Shukri Wrights Podcast drops. Because that's the only way you'll know, unless you like to go to the podcast page or wherever you like to listen to your podcast and hit the refresh button. You gotta you gotta get that notification. So the best way to do it is to subscribe and download the podcast so you're notified when the new episode drops as well. Well, I know one thing that might be dropping soon enough, and that is the Patriots may need to drop a new policy down in Foxborough because yesterday the Patriots got their asses handed to them by the New Orleans Saints 34-0. But that is only just part of the story. That is only just a microcosm of what is now abundantly clear in regards to the major problem that is down in Foxborough right now. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know how any other way to put it other than being a Patriots fan, that right now Bill Belichick and Mac Jones, they're not working. That head coach and as well as that quarterback is not working. It's absolutely clear that the issues goes beyond the X's and O's of football. We all know the struggles of Mac Jones, his deficiencies, his flaws. We're all fully aware of that. But, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to really point the finger where it fully belongs. Bill Belichick. Because the last time I checked, Bill Belichick is the head coach and the general manager of the New England Patriots. What is one of the big rules of leadership in life? Whether it's a business, your family, etc. Everything, good and bad, is your fault. The number one rule of leadership is that ultimately everything is your fault. And Bill Belichick, on this Monday, October 9th, 2023, everything is his fault. Everything that is wrong with the Patriots in terms of rosters, everything that is wrong with the Patriots in terms of assembling coaching staff, everything that is wrong with the Patriots in regards to his draft choices, all that goes back to one man and one man only, Bill Belichick. Because the people that are still pointing fingers elsewhere at Mac Jones, and Mac Jones is not absolved from the problems that the Patriots are currently going through and having to face at 1-4 currently. It all goes back to Bill Belichick. Not Bill O'Brien, as my good friend and buddy Babs, diehard Patriots fan, content creator, as he mentioned on Twitter, and he is incorrect in his assessment that Bill O'Brien needs to be the one that got to go. This isn't a Bill O'Brien problem. Although Bill O'Brien has had his flaws as a play caller, but the failures as an organization, that is not on Bill O'Brien, that's Bill Belichick. Because there is one thing that is clear, and that is that Bill Belichick has shown over and over and over again that his decision-making has led the Patriots back to the dark ages. Many people across New England and across Patriots land are basically telling people like myself who are 37 years old and younger. I'm not even 37 years old. I'm 32. Welcome to pre-Tom Brady era, where the Patriots were truly the lovable losers. There was dysfunction, yeah, but even then, they were still lovable. Pre-winning, pre-success, pre-finding a way to become the most dominant sports dynasty in the history of pro sports era. This is where we're at now. And there's one man to blame for all of this, and that's Bill Belichick. No one else. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but unless Rob Kraft finally decides to wake up and see the problem directly in front of him, this is going to continue. As it currently stands, the New England Patriots have the third worst record in the NFL. I know there are teams that are also 1-4, but the Patriots, in terms of winning percentage points, they're second worst 1-4 team in the league. They're third worst in the NFL currently right now. Because as it currently stands, it looks like that Caleb Williams is going to be the number 1 draft pick in 2024. And who knows, even if he decides to go pro, who knows? But I do know this. Bill Belichick, for as much as he may think of himself as one of the all-time great winning head coaches in the history of the NFL, it is clear, it is abundantly clear that the winning that he had done over that 20-year stretch was not entirely because of him. It was not entirely because of his system. It was because he had some guy named Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, whom, by the way, he allowed to walk out the door. He pushed out the door. It was as if Bill Belichick decided to cut off his nose in spite of his own face and did it to absolute perfection. He got tired of having his name and his success attached with another man who was largely responsible for his success. And now, over the course of the last 4 seasons, the Patriots organization, by and large part, has been a dud. 2021, the Patriots made the postseason. Congratulations. But outside of that, it has been an abject failure. And at 1-4, down in Foxborough, it is time to ask some very tough questions. But for me, it's not tough because I already saw this coming from get-go. When the Patriots did not go and get themselves a number 1 receiver, I immediately knew that this was going to be a disaster. I really did. Because I talked about this on my old radio show. The lack of a number 1 receiver is going to be problematic. Juju Smith-Schuster is not a number 1 receiver. When you can't draft a tight end, you have to go and overpay for tight ends. Go look at how much they had to pay for Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, who, by the way, Jonnu Smith is no longer a member of the New England Patriots. I wonder why. When you can't draft a receiver or draft at the skill position, you have to go out and overpay. And rarely in the NFL does you going shopping in the free agent market work. When you have needs around your home that needs repair, you don't go shopping around at Bob's Furniture Discount. You could if you're looking for discounts, sure. But you get what you pay for. And when you pay low, you get low quality. When you pay high, sometimes you may not get the best of quality. But the likelihood of you getting higher quality when you pay high for high quality goods, it's much greater. And Bill Belichick, and his stubbornness and his ego, has got him to the point where I am begging Robert Kraft to actually make drastic moves, massive changes. Because I'm not talking about making a move today or tomorrow. I'm talking about realizing that right now, Bill Belichick cannot be trusted to build this team. He cannot be trusted to get this team back to being a contender again. He's not the guy as a general manager. Bill Belichick, as a general manager, isn't getting the job done. In fact, Bill Belichick, the GM, is the reason why this Patriots organization is in a lot of deep trouble right now. Because I got news to tell you, and I've been saying this on Twitter consistently. Mac Jones is not the franchise quarterback. He's not. It's clear. I'm sick and tired of the Mac Jones apologists that are out there. He's not the guy. And then, oh, by the way, skill positions. How does it look right now? Oh, that's right. They need a lot of help. Oh, but what about the offensive line? The offensive line is a joke. Well, what about the defense? I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. The defense is not as good as we thought it was. I thought going into the year, the defense would be the strength of this team. So far, in the last two games combined, the Patriots have been outscored 69-3. You got that right. They have been outscored 69-3. And who does that reflect on? Oh, Bill Belichick. They look unprepared and sloppy. Who does that reflect on? Bill Belichick. You know, when you go out into the world, you are a reflection of the people who raised you. You are a reflection of your mom and your dad. And if you were raised by your parents or by your grandparents or whoever raised you, you are a reflection of them. When you're a leader of your team is a reflection of the leadership at the top. You wonder why the New England Patriots are in complete disarray right now? You want to know why the New England Patriots are in deep course manure right now? You want to know why the Patriots find themselves where they are at right now? Go look at the leadership. Who's in charge? Who's the GM? Who's the head coach? Oh, that happens to be one man and one man only. Bill Belichick. Honestly, it's time to fire Bill Belichick. It's time. It may not happen today, but if the Patriots continue to go down this dark road and it's not going to get any better for them, time to let him go. Time to let him go because, as I said, when you look at the quarterback play, Mac Jones looks like a guy who has no self-confidence at all right now. It looks like a guy who has no sort of confidence whatsoever in his offense. Zero. And you know what makes it truly worse? And I'm serious when I say this, is that apparently, according to Fox Sports today, there was a tweet that came out that really got my attention, that I thought that was alarming. And that was that there was apparently rumors and whispers surrounding Mac Jones, that he is disgruntled and that he is unhappy. And I can't begin to tell you just how bad that is, how bad of a look that truly is. It is disturbing. It is problematic. It is alarming. And you can't help but wonder why that is. Oh, I know why that is. Here's the honest reason why. The honest reason why, for me right now, is because, again, Bill Belichick, after year one of Josh McDaniels, where Mac Jones looked like the part of a guy who was drafted number 15 overall in 2021, Bill Belichick has done everything that he could to completely destroy his growth and his maturation process and his ability to elevate as an NFL quarterback. That's gone now. It's not even close. So, according to Fox Sports, a source close to Mac Jones had this to say about the lack of weapons surrounding himself and the Pats roster this season. This was the exact quote. No matter how good of a cook you are, you cannot make garbage taste good. Woof. Honestly and truthfully, this is bad. This is really bad. And what makes it worse is that they truly are the worst team in football right now. And I don't think it's really much of a debate. Worst offense in football, blame Bill Belichick. And there is nothing that will lead you to believe that it's going to get better anytime soon. Because if I was in that locker room, I would strongly believe and feel that every reason to trust Bill Belichick, it should be gone if it isn't already. Because it isn't about not turning the football over. You brought in cheap goods and expected to perform like it was a 5-star quality. And all you've gotten back is 1-star rating for poor performance. And you're left wondering why. And you can't even face the music that is the media. And that's the other part of it too. I think it's time that people really start calling out Bill Belichick on his BS. Call him out when he doesn't want to answer direct questions from the media. And of course, he's been doing this for a long time. I'm fully aware of that. You see, it's cool when you're winning. When you're having success, you're given a much longer leash. You're given much more leeway for nonsense and debauchery. But when you're losing, and you've been losing consistently over the last 2 seasons, that leash of patience begins to shrink. It begins to shrivel up like a prune. And at this point, I am sure the Boston media has said enough, because it is entirely your fault, Bill Belichick. It is entirely your fault that the offense and in this roster is as bad as it is. No one else. Your fault. And Patriot fans have a right to be angry today. How could you blame them for feeling anything else otherwise? We all have seen the same thing. We have seen the same thing over the course of the last couple of weeks. This team is not good. And you want to point fingers? There's only one man to blame. Bill Belichick. And this is the time where Robert Kraft needs to let go of his ego, stop giving a rat's ass about the NFL wins record, him doing it as a Patriot, because right now, the Patriots are a 1-win team. And if you turn around and you keep him as a general manager, at worst, as a GM, you're telling your fan base that have supported you, Robert Kraft, through the years before Gillette Stadium, going back to the old Foxborough Stadium, when you first became the owner of the New England Patriots, you're telling the fans that you care about Bill Belichick's ego than you do about the football team's success. And that is a bad message to send. That's a bad message to send if you are the owner of a passionate fan base like the Patriots. But Robert Kraft has allowed this to fester on for too long. And unless he takes that next step and actually makes that bold move of making changes, whether if it's later in the season or halfway at the season or maybe post during the offseason or whenever, things are not going to change. This whole disgruntled behavior by Bill Belichick, cut it out. Cut it out, because you doing that really, and I mean really, it makes you look weak. It makes you look like when you get praise, it's because of you. But when things go wrong, you can't be bothered to be held accountable. And that's a sign of a weak ass leader. That is not the sign of good leadership at all. Coming up next, there is an idea that's being floated around that I absolutely despise. And the reason behind it could not be even more obvious than what it is. Wait until you hear about this idea that's being floated around. That and much more coming up next here on the Shukri Wrights Podcast. Watch on YouTube and listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome back to the Shukri Wrights Podcast with your host, Shukri Wrights, on YouTube, where you can watch the podcast as well as listen to it on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast, including, by the way, Amazon Music is where you can also find the Shukri Wrights Podcast as well. I appreciate you being able to listen or watch the podcast wherever you can, however you can as well. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, download the pod, listen to it on your own time, and so forth. There's a change that's being floated out there that has me pretty annoyed. I'm not a fan of the change at all. And the reason, I think, is pretty obvious. And it's starting to make me mad. Now, for those of you that are baseball fans, and I'm a hardcore baseball fan myself, Major League Baseball a year ago went to a new format, a new playoff format, in which that the wild card round, which was once a one and done format where you either win or you move on, and if you don't, see you later, see you next spring or whatever. It went and became a best of three, right? And as a result, the top two seeds in both the American League and the National League will get the bye. They won't play in the wild card round. They play in the division series. Now, on Saturday night, the Philadelphia Phillies, who played in the wild card series, by the way, they beat the Atlanta Braves 3-0. And on a day in which that this podcast is being recorded, the Phillies are threatening to go up 2-0 in the series with Game 2 on Monday night. Ken Rosenthal basically wrote for The Athletic. He wrote this extra from the article, quote, "A second straight elimination for the Atlanta Braves in particular would generate discussion about the fairness of the current postseason format, which began last season." I'm not angry with Ken Rosenthal. I'm not. He does a terrific job as a sports journalist and so forth, and as well as on MLB on Fox. I'm not angry with him. But the Brave fans, I'm talking specifically to Braves fans here, who were whining and complaining and grouching over the fairness of the playoff format because the Braves, in which last year they were eliminated in the NLDS after having won the division and didn't play in the wild card round by the same Phillies that they're playing this year. They're the ones that's hollering up a storm. Folks, if your team happens to be really good, happens to have a bye, you do what you can to prepare. Because here's the truth of the matter. The Atlanta Braves have never been able to beat the Philadelphia Phillies in the postseason. The Philadelphia Phillies own the Atlanta Braves in the playoffs. Y'all like to gloat about regular season success. I'm talking about the Atlanta Braves specifically. The Braves fans. Y'all like to talk about regular season success. Oh, yeah. We look at our regular season on record against the Philadelphia Phillies. Cool. But here's the thing. If you don't beat the Phillies, forget about just winning game 2, because game 2 is really do or die. Because if the Braves lose game 2, you're not going to Philadelphia and winning 2 in a row. That's not happening. But what I will tell you is this. If the Braves lose a series to the Phillies, you know what's going to happen, right? There's going to be a whole new narrative that's going to be talked about. The Atlanta Braves, great in the regular season, but they cannot beat the Philadelphia Phillies. That's what's going to happen. And you have the unmitigated gall to complain about the MLB postseason format, the new one that was instituted a year ago. Are you kidding me? You were so concerned about the layoff that you had inter-squad games to prepare for the Philadelphia Phillies. Meanwhile, you couldn't even score a single run in game 1. It was Ranger Suarez and the rest of the Phillies bullpen that shut you down. The best offense in baseball over the last 25 years couldn't score a single run. And you want to complain about the MLB postseason format? Like, that screams Loserville mentality. That's Loserville thinking. When you don't find success after a long grind and you go through your first taste of adversity, you start grasping for straws of excuse, any which one you can grab, just to prove, you know what, now maybe we need to change things here. No. Accountability. Do a better job with runners in scoring position. Do a better job, take advantage of opportunities when you have base runners on the base paths. You're so psyched out that you're worrying about the postseason format. Meanwhile, you can't even beat the Phillies. You can't. That's what you are at risk for if you lose game 2. But the idea, the notion that Major League Baseball should really examine as to how they should change the MLB postseason format is completely laughable. It truly is. Because here's the kicker, ladies and gentlemen. These are the same Atlanta Braves. These are the same Brave fan base, I should say. Right? Back in 2012, we all remember that legendary wildcard game. Back then, it was just one game, do or die. Cardinals Braves at the old Turner Field. Remember the infield fly rule game? Many Braves fans were pointing out the wild card game shouldn't be just a one-game thing, especially if you had the best record in the National League or whatever the case is. I'm just putting it out there. They made it a best of 3, and you want to come up with the excuse of, well, perhaps, maybe we need to change it. No. Stop. If Major League Baseball changes the rule or changes the playoff format just to appease the Atlanta Braves, because that's what it looks like right now, that's if it happens, prepare better. Actually take advantage of your opportunities to score runs when you have them. Take advantage of the fact that you have 2 of your best pitchers going in game 1 and game 2. Game 1 is already in the bag. It's gone. You had a pretty solid pitcher performance by Spencer Strider, and you couldn't give him any runs to work with. and you want to worry about postseason formats? Now, I am a believer. I will tell you this, though. There is something to be said about long playoff waits in between rounds and how it does affect teams. There is a history in baseball for that. For me, none more bigger than the Colorado Rockets of 2007. Y'all remember how blazing hot that team was? They won 21 of 22, including the postseason, to get to the World Series in 2007. They had, I believe, if I remember correctly, I believe 7 days off in between sweeping the Diamondbacks in the LCS and playing game one of the World Series, which would be against the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park, and got swept. We have seen that long layoffs do affect teams, but however, if this was truly a concern from the jump street, this would have been addressed when they were making the changes. Not now, because Brave fans are complaining about the fact that they lost game one. There's a chance they might lose game two and go back to Philly down 0-2. That in itself is not forward thinking. That's just reactionary moves made by a business just to generate more revenue and more money, because let's face it, more games equal more revenue and everything else that goes along with it. That is a fact. So for me, this is as crazy, and I do think it's crazy because this is reactionary, a reactionary idea that's being floated out there by one Ken Rosenthal, and as well as a ton of Brave fans who are already looking at this. If you really want to make a change, and I'm serious when I say this, if you really want to make a change in terms of the postseason format, here's what you do. Between the end of the regular season and the wild card series, you play the next day. When that wild card series is done, you go straight into the division series. The scheduling could be a lot better. That's on Major League Baseball. But don't dare for 1 minute use the format of the postseason as an excuse as to why you don't have success against a particular team. Because right now, the narrative is on the cusp, on the verge of being born, that the Braves cannot beat the Phillies in October, especially if they lose this round. Coming up next, final thoughts with you here in the Shukri Wrights Podcast with the host Shukri Wrights here on iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube as well. Welcome back to the Shukri Wrights Podcast with your host Shukri Wrights. Hope you're enjoying the pod so far. Passionate, insightful. Whether you agree with me or not, that's okay. But follow me on my socials at Shukri Wrights on both Twitter and TikTok, and as well as Instagram at @SWrightsRadio_. That is where you can follow me on my socials and so forth. Final thoughts here on this episode. Now, we're in the month of October, obviously. We're 9 days into the month. And in case if you haven't realized by now, we're now in the best month of the calendar year, in my opinion, because this is the true meaning and definition of the sports equinox. All 4 pro sports leagues will be in action by the time we get to Halloween. And I love it. I absolutely love it. In fact, tomorrow, October 10th, the NHL regular season begins. And I am so ready. I am so fired up for hockey. It's not even funny. I am so excited for the return of the NHL season that God willing, I'm planning to watch all 3 games. The first one starts at 5:30. Last one starts at 10:30. Watching the Las Vegas Golden Knights raise their Stanley Cup banner to the Raptors out in Vegas. That's going to be a great game to watch between Seattle and Las Vegas. And oh, by the way, the NBA returns October 24th. The NBA on TNT. I am so ready. I cannot wait. I can't wait. And then, oh, by the way, the MLB postseason is already well underway. Oh, and the NFL season is already well underway. And if you happen to like college football, you can include it too. But this is the best time of year in sports, and it's not even close because all four, and I would say 5 sports, they're all in action. 4 pro and 1 major one that basically people around the country follow. So there's a lot of TV surfing that's happening right now. A lot of opportunity to create content. There's a lot of opportunity to talk about various topics across sports, whether it's the NFL and the Cowboys getting exposed last night out in the Bay Area against the Niners, or whether if it's baseball and its idiotic idea of potentially examining or maybe changing the playoff format and so forth. That's entirely up to you, but there's so much topic, there's so much on the plate of your entree, your sports entree, so much you can nitpick from and talk about. That's why October is going to be phenomenal, and I cannot wait. It's already started, and it's going to continue throughout this month. It's going to be good. It's going to be good, ladies and gentlemen. As I mentioned earlier, don't forget to hit subscribe for the podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. Yes, this podcast is on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel to be notified when new episodes drop. Because they do drop. Check it out. I appreciate my listeners. I appreciate my fans. I appreciate my supporters. Those who've been following my content and watching my content in full. I appreciate you. I see you. I see those people who listen and view the content I put out there. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. That's going to do it for this edition of the Shukri Wrights Podcast with your host, Shukri Wrights. I look forward to talking with you very soon again. I'll talk to you later. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Oh, by the way, Game 2 of the NLDS is on tonight. Phillies, Braves, D-backs, Dodgers. Going to be good. It's going to be good. We'll talk about it on the next episode of the Shukri Wrights Podcast. Take care, everybody, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.